Welcome to the Speaking of Writers podcast. I'm Steve Richards, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating literary what ifs in recent memory. Marilyn Monroe would have turned 100 on June 1st. And while the world prepares to celebrate her enduring legacy in film, fashion, and pop culture, today's guest imagines something entirely different. What if Marilyn Monroe never died on August 5th, 1962? What if she escaped the spotlight and finally found the life she always dreamed of? In the captivating new novel, Maybe Marilyn, acclaimed author Lois Cahall reimagines Marilyn as a survivor rather than a victim. Set in 2019, the story follows two young reporters chasing the biggest mystery in Hollywood history, only to discover that Marilyn's legacy may be far more personal and alive than anyone imagined. Lois Cahall is the author of The Many Lives and Loves of Hazel Lavery, The Court of the Myrtles, and the UK best-selling novel Plan C Just in Case. She's also the founder of the Cape Cod Book Festival and the Palm Beach Book Festival. I am happy to welcome my friend Lois Cahall to the Speaking of Writers
Thank you,
podcast.
Steve. I'm humbled to be here. It's lovely to join you.
It's great to have you. So give us a brief synopsis of Maybe Marilyn.
So I think I love everything you said, by the way. I was thinking I could steal all those fabulous words and use them in all of my book events coming up in the next 2 weeks. Um, so it's 1962, as you said. What if Marilyn didn't die? What if during the 5 hours where no one called the police, her housekeeper or her psychiatrist, 5 hours went by, she got away, was issued a new identity, maybe from someone in the White House, and ended up in a place called Cape Cod. So fast forward 2019, two reporters get a tip, one from a dying coroner and one from a dying mobster who say they were both there the night that Marilyn died, but she didn't. The coroner suggests that they took a body from the morgue drawer, put a blonde platinum wig on it, and took photos. And let's face it, it was Noguchi that was the main coroner, and he was already in trouble for sensationalizing every other death. So the reporters get these tips. They go on a wild goose chase. Whether they find Marilyn or not remains to be seen, because she would be 95 if they were going to find her. But what they do find is her very alive 24-year-old feminist granddaughter. That's my story.
What first drew you to Marilyn Monroe as a subject for this novel?
You know, that's a really interesting question. She was the most glamorous, vulnerable, and complex star, I think, and the most sought after. And my cover blurb is from my friend Elizabeth Beller. She just did last year the Carolyn Bessette Kennedy biography that was turned into the Ryan Murphy FX hit Love Story that's been all the sensation, you know, the biggest show this winter. Um, we're both fascinated by these beautiful blonde women whose lives ended tragically. And I wanted to explain, maybe come up with a version of her, an educated version, a literary version. She loved to read. People don't know that because they weren't there in the hereafter to defend themselves. And you know, there's that old saying, if someone's gossiping about you, you're not there to defend yourself. So this is happening to them every day, especially Marilyn. I mean, there's always been this fascination. What did she wear? Who did she date? How did she die? You know, who did she marry? Who didn't she marry? Who did she sleep with? And there's never enough to satisfy the public hunger, whether it's emotional or sexual intimacy, whatever, because she's dead and because she died gorgeous. So we always frame her in that beautiful blonde bombshell Marilyn that we all love.
Marilyn Monroe, of course, remains one of the most recognizable figures in history. How do you balance, Lois, fact and fiction when writing historical fiction about someone so iconic?
Well, I had to read, of course, a good deal of the autopsy report to start. That was the first thing that tipped me off. And then I had to read every book I could possibly imagine. My friend Joyce Carol Oates did Bombshell, which became a Netflix series. Lois Banner did an amazing book on Marilyn Monroe. Norman Mailer's Marilyn Monroe. There's so many fabulous books. So I used them all to learn what I needed to know historically about her, and also a lot about her life with Frank Sinatra, with the Kennedys, everything. And then once you have that, you can kind of outline the mystery from there. and make it what you want. But staying within, I have the same issue when I did my last book, staying within the realm of respectability, because this was a real person. And someone could be writing about you and me in 100 years. So I want to be kind to their memory.
The novel imagines Marilyn surviving and creating a completely different life for herself. To your point earlier, why do you think readers are still emotionally invested in giving Marilyn a happier ending?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said. The public wants to emotionally be with her, physically, sexually, whatever. Everyone has a way or a reason to love Marilyn Monroe. And biographers have long claimed that in a world of devoted fans, they're hungry to bring her back to life. So, yeah, their hunger never waned. And neither do the flawed reports. So you put the two together, and I thought, okay, maybe we got something. But in the acknowledgments, and I won't get into this too long, it really was originally done as a screenplay that I wrote 25 years ago
Mm.
with a friend of mine named Mark Oristano, who lives in Dallas, Texas. He was a sportscaster for the Dallas Cowboys. And we wrote this as a screenplay. And the long short is I attached all these fabulous stars to it. Christian Slater, the Wahlbergs. We had an incredible cast. The coroner was going to be Jerry Stiller,
Mm.
because it was an Henri coroner. His wife Anne was going to be in it as well as one of the town hall women who works at the town hall when the mischievous, detectives come along, the guys that are going to seek it out. And right when we were going to film, 9/11 happened, and my investors died in 9/11.
Mm.
So that was the end of the project, and I put it away. And then, I don't know, in 2018, 19, I was having lunch with James Patterson, who's a dear friend, and I was his creative director of development for a while too. And he was convincing me to work for him at the time. And I told him the story, and he said, "Oh, you have to do this. You have to do this as a novel." And that was fine, but the challenge was the world had changed since this was written in 1999. Now we have social media, we have the web, we have AI. So it became much more complex. Also, the personalities of the young guys were kind of more know it all, can get it all instantly on my phone. So there was a lot of change to the original. Became a book. So it was also 300 pages longer.
Mm. Let's talk about sense of place here. The book shifts between Hollywood mythology and a quieter life on Cape Cod. Why was that contrast important to you?
Oh, that's a really good question, Steve. Well, I guess she would seek a quieter life, but also I'm that person. I love Cape Cod, but I also had a large Hollywood life with my ex, and I kind of love being on, but then I love just completely being in my garden in my Birkenstocks and planting and going
Mm.
out for a lobster roll with my friends. So I liked the idea of Cape Cod. And it's my home. And there's so much influence here on the Cape. Edie Vonnegut is a Vonnegut. She's a friend. She's on my board. The Kennedys are here. Norman Mailer's kids. John Mailer is on my board for the Cape Cod Book Festival. So, all that influence. Edward Gorey's nephew is like a brother to me. They all collectively influenced the idea of where would she end up. But, they're not involved in the book in any way, but it all was collective influence. I think you take in so much information and then you funnel it down to what you need. What's the heart of it?
Your two young reporters become obsessed with uncovering the truth. What role does modern media and internet culture play in the novel?
Another really good question. I mean, it's constant. It's constant. One of the things I had fun with was a scene that I had trouble with when we were writing the screenplay that was easy to do now. There's a scene where one of the reporters gets here first, and it's a love triangle because they find the granddaughter. One falls in love with her and no longer wants to do the story, and the other one wants to blow the cover on the story because it's the biggest story of his career. So it's a love triangle. So the good guy gets here first. And there's a moment where they're in a polar plunge, on New Year's Day in Barnstable at the beach, which we really do in Barnstable Village. And he saves a dog and it goes viral. So you didn't have that 30 years ago. So because it goes viral on, whatever social media site, the other reporter goes, he's on Cape Cod, and he realizes he's ahead of the story. So he's going to go chase him down there. Because I always wondered, how do we get him from LA to Cape Cod? Now it's easy. We have social media.
Yeah.
So some
Yeah.
parts were easier, and then other parts were challenging. Also, the granddaughter doesn't know she's the granddaughter of Marilyn Monroe and doesn't, she's going to discover it by ways that, I don't want to say too much because I'm giving the
Yeah.
story
We
away.
don't want to give it all away here
Yeah.
yet.
And I
Now,
won't tell you if we see Marilyn or not. So that's the big ending.
Lois, did writing this novel change the way you personally viewed her?
Yeah, you said something earlier, and it's sort of been my catchphrase. It's about women as survivors, not victims. And I think we've all been there where we've had to survive a horrible past or in some way or another, whether it's divorce, death, whatever, a broken heart, jilted lover, however. I think this frames Marilyn for me in a new and positive light. And she is the mirror image of everything mothers and daughters revere and also despise about ourselves. We've had failures, success, the beauty queen, the businesswoman, the powerhouse, what the jilted lover, whatever. We all have pieces of her in us. So I try to bring those pieces to life. And I guess, yeah, it played into me in a way that I liked her better, but I created her in a more positive light, but also gave her intelligence because she really was a smart woman. I mean, she was a reader, a big reader. She was all about books. And that's a very important part of my book.
I mentioned in the introduction you founded both the Cape Cod Book Festival and Palm Beach Book Festival. How has being immersed in the literary community influenced your own writing journey? You mentioned a bunch of authors and descendants of authors that live on Cape Cod earlier.
It's good and bad. The bad part is it does interfere with my own writing. There's a big chunk of my life that has to go missing every year because of this. And, people think it just happens. I really start it the day after the last one ends. But then as we get into August, moving into October, it's, hands-on full time because I'm it. I am the image of the festival. And these author friends come in because they want to be with me. So I have to make it it's almost like a big party, but it's also a staged event. Um, that's the tough part. The good part is the world changes, and I'm really concerned about AI for writers, and we all know this. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
topic with the Writers Guild every day. That it could be the only future book that will be written not by AI is memoir because, they can't go in our head and write our memoir. But I feel like no matter what, authors will always need me. And they've really come to depend on me more and more with each festival because there's just so much competition out there now for writers. And to be asked to be at a festival, you used to get, well, maybe I'll see, but now they all throw themselves at coming in because they need it. They need the audiences, and we need readers. And I like connecting readers and authors. It makes me feel good when it's done that weekend. I feel accomplished, like I've given something to literacy that maybe wasn't there. Or someone will say, "Oh, I never read that genre of writing. It's fantastic. I'm going to seek out that author," or whatever. It's nice keeping literacy alive.
What is your ideal writing environment on Cape Cod? Complete silence, music, coffee shop chaos, ocean view, perhaps?
Well, the ocean view would be nice. I guess I'm very disciplined because I grew up with nuns. And the one thing you instill on you from Catholic school is discipline. So I guess writing in my office just with no one around and no interruption. When I'm writing, I really need to be left alone. And I do like music, but it can't have lyrics. But there are soundtracks that match certain books. When I write them, I'll always remember, oh yeah, that was that music for that book that I wrote. What
All
it
right.
was tricky about this one is I wanted Frank Sinatra a lot, to put
Mm,
me in that kind of ring a ding ding feel.
yes.
But he talks, he sings. So I could do it in certain scenes, but not in the intense ones. When I'm on the part where the granddaughter might discover her, it's not cute, it's very serious. So, it was more the fun scenes.
All right. You can have dinner at one of those fabulous Cape Cod restaurants with Marilyn Monroe, Jackie Kennedy, or Elizabeth Taylor. Who are you choosing and why right now in this moment?
Definitely not Elizabeth Taylor. I'm sorry. Well, I've had dinner with Kennedys because I grew up with them. So I guess Jackie is lovely, but I would take Marilyn
Mm,
because we discussed my novel, and maybe I do have dinner with Marilyn. Maybe she's here. I mean, we'll have to see how the book ends.
yeah.
Could be we had dinner last week.
What's one book you wish you could experience again for the very first time?
Oh God, that's a tough one. I think you've stumped me there. I don't know. I mean, I always loved Richard Russo. I guess
Mm,
that was a book that really affected me. Empire Falls, maybe. I mean,
yeah.
I
Oh,
can't believe
yeah.
I'm saying that, but there's so many. There's so many. I'm stumped at the moment
It's hard
because
to
you
narrow it
get in
down.
mode for your book and it's hard to
Yes.
think. And for me, there's so many. It's a good question. I can get back to you on that one.
All right. Give me one myth about Marilyn Monroe you wish people would just stop believing.
That she was dumb. She
Yeah.
really wasn't. She was smart. And let me tell you, you have to be smart. I don't care, even if you're calculated and sexual and you're using your body, she really was a smart woman. I mean, she got all those roles. But then, at a certain point, Hollywood ate her up and, spit her out. So, I mean, but she did it. I mean, she really did it. And she knew how to work it. You look at pictures of her as Norma Jean, as a brunette, and then just how she just survived. Even all the childhood, the mess with the orphanages and the being cast off from this parent to that one, and it was really hard for her.
The
So I
book
think survival.
The book is Maybe Marilyn, Lois Cahall, the author, a compelling, emotional, and imaginative rethinking of one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. And ultimately, a story about hope, reinvention, and the life Marilyn Monroe may have deserved. Great to see you, Lois. Thank you for joining me.
Great to see you, Steve. And I'm buying the lobster rolls when you come to Cape Cod.
I'll take you up on that. Thank you. I
Okay.
could use one
Bye.
right now.
Bye,
And
everyone.
thank you. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the Speaking of Writers podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Richards. Thanks for watching and for listening. I'll talk to you again next time.